Okay, I think we're going here. Hey, everybody. My name's Dave. Welcome back. I'm recording this on the evening of October 28th, 2021. It's been a while since my last update. At that time, I mentioned being unwell, but was optimistic that I'd be getting back on the horse within a day or two. As it turns out, that was an incautious prediction. I soon figured out that I was in fact sick with salmonella, from which it took me about a full week to recover. That meant a lot of time in bed, disruption in diet and sleep and exercise schedule, as well as a pretty bad mood crash. I was feeling pretty bummed out about falling off the horse. I mean, I know it's realistic to expect to be laid low when sick, but it's frustrating when you're just starting to get momentum with something and then to get badly derailed. So, yeah. But sticking to my plan means just getting back on the horse after falling off. So that's what I've tried to do, and it feels good to be doing it. What I've learned from this is that my brain is well rested. I'm better positioned to make good decisions and exercise executive functions. If I get wiped out, I wind up defaulting to habitual behaviors. So that's a good thing to know about myself in the future. This idea of willpower is kind of a shitty way in which we set ourselves up to feel bad about being out of control. Honestly, I'm not a fan of the word. The more I learn about this, the more I see that environment is what's important. Good mental health habits, like getting adequate sun and exercise, eating lots of omega-3 rich foods, that's important. Learning to manage your dopamine supply is important. You take those things away and we lose control of the situation. It's nothing to feel too bad about, in my opinion, but it's something I'd rather avoid, given that I now know ways to try to avoid it. So just to make a record of where I'm at, today involved waking up with the sun, making coffee and breakfast, doing 20 minutes of qigong, about 10 minutes of weightlifting, then a 30-minute brisk walk around the neighborhood. I went to a park to read and drink coffee. I had a meetup with my mom, who was in the area, so we chatted a bit. I came home, I did some online fiddling around, talked to a friend on the phone for about an hour, then a nap. I filled the rest of the time today somewhat lazily, although I decided tonight would be the night I'd write this report and film it. I mean, overall, I give today about a 6 out of 10 as far as doing my best goes. So that's not a wasted day. But I'm still feeling I need to take it up a notch or two over the next couple of days to find that sweet spot I felt myself in 3 weeks ago. So we'll tackle that tomorrow. In particular, I want to double down and focus to make sure that mindfulness meditation practice becomes part of my morning routine. Right now, I'm sort of mailing it in here and there whenever I remember to do it, but I really am feeling a need to make it a daily practice. So I think one of the most exciting things for me about what I'm doing is I'm gaining confidence and starting to feel enthusiastic about an internalization of the conviction that I really can make changes for the better. I've been working to build new habits, and they really are taking hold. And I'm seeing evidence of that because even when everything goes to shit, I'm still, like, I might be almost dead on my feet with some illness, but at this point I'm still getting up and doing my morning exercises and so forth. So that's a change from 2 or 3 months ago, and one that I can be pleased about. You know how sometimes there's like pie on that table over there, and you want a slice because you love pie, but it's way over there. But it's pi, but it's way over there. So, if you've ever spent more than like 5 minutes on a dilemma like that, you probably understand how I lived most of my life up until now. That's the thing I'm learning to change, pushing through resistance, initiating action, finding little tricks to motivate myself. An example is that I've always fucking hated housework, but now I find I'm learning to enjoy it in short spurts because I have reframed my thinking about it and now experience it as training to be my best self. So now if you've spent any time reviewing the literature on dopamine and how it works, you'll understand that this little hack hits the sweet spot, allowing me to experience pleasure in the process of making an effort rather than in the chance to do an end zone dance. So that's cool. Knock on wood here, but I'm hoping and even confidently expecting that a few more months of playing around with this will enable me to lay the foundation for a somewhat or very different version of myself. So, I guess that's enough talking about myself for tonight. I thought I'd spend the rest of this video trying to lay out some interesting content from a more theoretical point of view, or at least just offer a shower thought for the week. My pet topic for this week, I think, is going to be frustration and disappointment. I don't know about you folks, but I've had a really hard time with this one in recent months and years. It feels like Western civilization is sort of circling the drain. To me, it's hard to not find fault with the people who seem to be cheering for the abandonment of classic liberal ideals, such as freedom of speech and opinion, the championing of equality under the law, respect for the virtues of truth and natural philosophy, and so forth. So, I guess I really thought that when push came to shove, more of us would do better. And, of course, that's indicative of my own shortcomings more than it's indicative of anyone else's. I've had 47 years to be a student of human nature. I've understood for a very long time that things weren't headed in a good direction. More precisely, I've understood since I was young that I was going to bear witness to humanity's final exam on a 12,000-year-old experiment in consciousness. So, to an extent, I could characterize my own flirtation with hedonism and nihilistic thought over the past decades as a dereliction of duty in the face of the approaching twilight. So, I have to ask myself, how much of that frustration is classic projection in the Jungian sense? I came across an excellent article on the topic and thereby found a nice answer in the writings of the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who said, whenever a person's lack of shame offends you, you should immediately ask yourself, so is it possible for there to be no shameless people in the world? It isn't, and you should therefore stop demanding the impossible. He's just one of those shameless people who must necessarily exist in the world. You should keep the same thought readily available for when you're faced with devious and untrustworthy people, and people who are flawed in any way. As soon as you remind yourself that it's impossible for such people not to exist, you'll be kinder to each and every one of them. It's also helpful immediately to consider what virtue nature has granted us human beings to deal with any given offense. Gentleness, for instance, to counter discourteous people. So, end quote. There it is. That seems like naked truth to me. One might as well get upset that 2 and 2 summed equal 4, as get mad at the fact that there exists in the world people who disagree with me, or are imbeciles, or both. I think focusing up on this perspective will help me release a lot of pointless, toxic frustration in coming weeks, hopefully so anyways. I think I'm going to leave things there for tonight. I will aim to provide some links to cool stuff in the comments section for this video. Until we next meet, I wish you all well, and urge you to be the change you want to see in the world. Buddha Dave wishes all beings to be free of sorrow. Thank you very much for tuning in. Namaste. Good night. See you soon.